Hey guys, it's Sean, and we are gearing up for the 91st Academy Awards on Sunday, which means it's time to make all of our bold predictions. I'm going to tell you who I think is going to win in the major categories, but before we do that, do me a favor, go down and hit the subscribe button. It'll help you keep up to date with everything we're doing here at CinemaBlend. Let's start with the Best Animated Feature category because there's some heavy hitters that are going after the Oscar. Normally we look towards Pixar and Disney because they tend to rule the roost in this category, and yes, The Incredibles 2 and Wreck-It Ralph 2, Ralph Breaks the Internet, are both contending, but I really believe that this year it's going to go to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Critics loved this film. It pushed the envelope in terms of what you could show from an animated standpoint. It's been picking up a number of major awards along the way, and I think it's finally going to get its Oscar on Sunday. Let's switch over to Best Adapted Screenplay, where you see some major names including Joel and Ethan Coen for The Ballad of Buster Scruggs. Here I'm going to use the winner of the Writers Guild Association, and I'm going to go with Can You Ever Forgive Me as the one that's going to prevail in the adapted screenplay. As with any category this year, it feels like it can go in any direction because there's no real frontrunner, but because that one just picked up the WGA and most of those people are also voting for the Oscars, I'm going to say Can You Ever Forgive Me wins adapted screenplay. That brings us right into original screenplay, where films like The Favorite and First Reformed are going up against Roma and Green Book. And I really think that this category is going to go to Green Book. It might surprise some people, but I think when it wins in Best Original Screenplay, that's going to point to a wave of momentum that might actually carry Green Book to be our Best Picture winner. There aren't a lot of locks so far on the evening, but I think we have one in Best Supporting Actress, and I think it's going to go to Regina King for If Beale Street Could Talk. You have two actresses from The Favorite, Rachel Weisz and Emma Stone, who I think are going to split their votes, and Regina King has been winning every single award leading up to the Oscars. There have always been surprises, you know, some people who think that they are the frontrunner, they get dethroned on Oscar night, but I don't think that's going to happen to Regina King. She had an outstanding performance in Barry Jenkins' film. I think she's finally going to get her Oscar on Sunday. That brings us right to Best Supporting Actor, where I should say that Mahershala Ali is going to win for his performance in Green Book, because much like Regina King in Beale Street, he's been picking up every major award leading up into this one. However, there are two actors that are building up some serious momentum during the campaign part, which is actually very important. One of them is Richard E. Grant for his performance in Can You Ever Forgive Me? People love the way that he's been campaigning, and a lot of that matters when the Oscar voters are deciding who to pick. Same goes for Sam Elliott, who was nominated for A Star Is Born. People love Sam Elliott, and they just want him to be an Oscar winner. I think this one's actually a three-horse race, and I wouldn't be surprised if any of those names were called, but because this is bold predictions time, I'll stick with Mahershala Ali. Now for the top two acting categories, we'll start with Best Actress, where I have to believe that it's going to go to Glenn Close for The Wife. And I know that's going to make Lady Gaga fans upset. It's actually making me pretty upset too, because I think that she deserves it for A Star Is Born also. But at almost every stop along the way, Glenn Close has prevailed over Lady Gaga, except for the time that they tied at the Critics' Choice Awards. You are starting to hear a little bit of buzz for Olivia Colman and her performance in The Favorite, but I don't think that it's enough to overcome Glenn Close and her performance in The Wife, which is also looking to be an Oscar that rewards her entire career, which happens often at the Academy Awards. That brings us to Best Actor, where I have to believe that RAMI Malek is going to take home the Oscar for Bohemian Rhapsody. That movie is such a juggernaut, both financially but also just with crowd support. It's the type of movie that the Academy wants people to turn out to see win, but I don't think it's going to get the Best Picture. However, Malek is probably going to win in that category. I know that that's a surprise because when the film first came out, people felt like, oh, this is a Golden Globes type film, but not really an Oscar contender. But Malek has picked up every major award along the way, and I think he's going to top it all off with an Oscar on Sunday. One of the big final awards is Best Director, and we know it's not going to Bradley Cooper. I'm really sorry about that, Bradley. So I think it's going to go to Alfonso Cuarón, whose masterful film Roma is pulled right from his imagination of his childhood and has just mesmerized audiences worldwide. Yes, it's a Netflix film, yes, it's a black and white film, and yes, it's a foreign language film, but it's so exquisitely crafted that I think Alfonso Cuarón has to win his second Oscar for Best Director. There are 8 films that are competing for Best Picture, and I think at the end of the night, Roma is going to be the one that gets called. Yes, it could go to Green Book because it's a popular pick, and I think there are some Academy members who just like the fact that it's a traditional sort of awards film. Bohemian Rhapsody is really popular, and Star Is Born really went from frontrunner to long shot over the course of this campaign, which is really surprising to me. This year in particular, there's no clear frontrunner, and yes, I do think the Best Picture when we get there can go in any different direction, but because Cuarón did such an amazing job on Roma, I have to believe in my heart the Academy is going to recognize how beautiful of a film it is, and they're going to give it Best Picture on Sunday. This has been a wildly unpredictable Oscar season, and any of these categories can really go in any different direction. I'm prepared for some big-time surprises on Sunday night. How about you? Who would you pick in these categories? Head down to that comment section and tell us who you'd pick, and while you're down there, hit the subscribe button. It helps you keep up to date with everything we're doing here at CinemaBlend.